Hi guys, welcome to Manna Monday, and Manna Monday number 6, and great to be back Monday night and bringing to you the insights of people's lives and God touching and changing people. And we started Manna Monday more than 6 weeks ago now, but with my testimony. And in my testimony, we spoke about my life and raising kids, and so by public demand, we have with us tonight my son Luke, and good to have him here. We also have Evangelist Ben Reddy, who's been with us from the beginning, and we're working through this together. And so, welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Very good, and good to have them here. And we're gonna tap into some stories from Luke's upbringing and what it's like to be a pastor's kid and grow up as a Christian. And I want to just say from the beginning that, one of the reasons why we're doing this and have Luke with us tonight on Manna Monday is because I get a lot of questions over time from disciples, sometimes from other pastors, and asking me about raising kids. And my kids are just a little teenagers and a little older teenagers, and certainly not there, they're not all that, and they're not, we've not arrived yet, but are doing well at this point in time. And so I get questions from time to time about, raising kids, and what did you do when they were small, and what was life like pioneering, and how did you do that? And so we were talking about that weeks ago in my testimony, and I think Pastor Ben mentioned, hey, who would like to hear from Luke's perspective? And there was an overwhelming response. So yeah, let's hear from Luke. And so tonight we want to try and do that, and try and tap into some things and some stories, the life, spiritual things that were turning points, things that helped Luke to be a Christian, get saved, get converted really, and begin to live for God and serve God, and today married in ministry and doing very, very well. And so again, we're going to begin tonight going back many years, 2006. But to begin, I want to hand over to Pastor Reddy, who is going to ask some questions. We're doing a three-way thing tonight because obviously Luke and I are aware of all the situations, and so to get a third-party perspective, and maybe Pastor Ben can ask the questions that we don't think of or that you'd like to know about. And so I'm going to hand over to him to get us going, and we'll do our best to get you as much information as we can in the short period of time. So, Pastor Ben.
Great. Awesome. Thanks, Pastor. And Luke, I want to welcome you out to Manna Monday.
Thank you.
And everybody listening, we know there's many people online. Please, part of the driving of the Manna Monday is your questions. And I've got the YouTube chat open right in front of me on the computer. And so if you're tuned in tonight, let us know. Post something on there. Let us know that you're tuning in and listening. But also, as we go, any questions that you have for Luke, or maybe even for Pastor Munzone, as we talk about Luke's life, please send them through. And I'm watching that feed live, and we're going to be able to ask them on your behalf. So please send through questions that you're interested in getting a response from Luke in regards to. And I also do have my phone here, and if you want to send through a message or a WhatsApp directly. So any one of those methods, but preferably put it on the live chat, and we're going to get those questions to Luke. And your questions matter tonight, so we appreciate that. Amen. Okay, well, again, Luke, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
And we're excited. This is very much the public demand has really got you here over anybody else. No one wanted me to be interviewed, but everybody was in demand for Luke to be here. So we're excited and believing God to help us through all we're going to talk about tonight. So we want to begin and obviously talk about the beginning, the early parts of your life and going out and being involved in pioneering with your family. And so I think your dad kind of touched on it quickly there, but what age were you when your family did get sent out to pioneer?
I was 6 when we got
6,
sent out, yeah.
Okay. So quite young, and obviously, yeah. And so obviously going out young, pioneering, went out to Windsor, very different area. So obviously you want to tap into and see your perspective of that. Obviously Pastor's spoken about some of his perspectives on pioneering, but as a 6-year-old, going out to pioneer with your family there, What are some outstanding memories that come to mind now you're a few years down the track of that time?
Yeah, I remember very clearly the day that we got sent out.
Great.
At the Sydney conference, and in particular at the end of the night, the announcements had been made, and someone came up to me from the church that I was in, one of my friends, and came up to me and told me, like, it was pretty much like, haha, see you later, you're never going to see any of your friends again, you're going out.
Yes.
And sort of taunted me like that, and I just remember at the conference just losing it.
Okay.
Yeah, just totally out of it, trying to meet pastors and say hello, and I was just didn't want a bar of it. I was on the floor crying.
Yeah, I remember him hiding. So we had to go find him. Like, what's going on?
Yes. Okay.
And they're hiding down the back somewhere, and
yeah,
it was challenging.
Yeah. And so that was the first little memory I have of the whole pastor's kid and people coming up to me. You're a PK now.
Yeah.
And it was strange. I hated it the first night, but then we went out to Windsor, and really had a great time.
Yes.
Had a great time there. It was one of the greatest experiences of my life. Going out there at a young age, going and we were talking about this before, but going into the ministry. My parents going into ministry.
Yes.
But for me, I was 6 years old, 6, 7, 8. Never really had a real understanding of all of that. I just remember having an awesome time.
Yeah. Cool.
And obviously my dad was there. He was the pastor of the church. But I remember always he was driving me to footy every weekend, driving me to go and ride motorbikes and go fishing and hang out with my mates. And that's some of the memories that really formed at the start of going to Windsor.
Yeah, great.
More than in my memory.
Yes.
Even more, and that stuff really stands out to me.
Yeah, good. Okay, because that's often a challenge in people's minds, even disciples, married couples that are looking to go pioneer. They wrestle with the calling and the balance of family. If I go and preach, I might neglect my kids. And so obviously your perspective of that is not that. You're saying we had time for rugby, we had time for... You were involved in those things.
Now, before we went to Windsor, Luke played a little bit of rugby league for the Seven Hills Demons. What a name, right?
That's right.
We lived in Blacktown, and the team was called the Seven Hills Demons, and they wore actually Australian colours for a season. But then we went to Windsor, and so Luke wanted to keep playing footy, and so the footy was on a Saturday.
Yes.
And it was doable. And so, I just... Personally, I wanted to let the kids have fun.
Yes.
We're gonna pioneer. We're gonna build a work for God.
Yes.
But at the same time, do the things they want to do and have fun. In fact, I think we have a photo of because I played rugby league when I was a kid.
Yes.
And this is I think we have a photo there somewhere on the.
All right.
So this is a photo. I think you can see that.
There you go.
That's a couple of years later, but when Luke was 10 and when I was 10. And 10 years old, I was 10 years old in 1980. Yeah. And Luke was 2010. And so I'm obviously a little bit bigger than Luke was then.
Your shoulder pads are...
There's a shoulder pads.
You got 4 pairs of shoulder pads on.
And the hair, I think, buffed out a bit. But but anyway, so we did that, and we had a good time doing that. And Luke played for the Windsor Wolves and there, and we just had a good time.
Yeah, good. Okay. So Pastor, for you, that was something you were conscious of that. We're going to make sure we keep this balance, and we're going to...
Yeah, and it has nothing to do with rugby league.
Yes, of course.
But it was something Luke was interested in.
Yes.
And for me personally, I also thought it was an opportunity to outreach.
Yeah, great.
And to get to know parents. I'm new to the place.
Yes.
I wanted to go there and meet locals and meet people and... because when you're pioneering, you can go and you just go from home to work to church.
Yes.
And so to me, it was very important to meet locals, mingle with people, witness to people. I got to witness to some of Luke's the parents of his team. I think we may have had some kids come to church at various times. Their parents come at various times.
Yes.
And so it was an opportunity. So rugby league was one of those.
Yep.
The girls did gymnastics.
Yes.
We did other things like Luke mentioned, riding motorbikes, going fishing.
Yeah, great.
And just having some adventure.
Yeah, good. Okay, very good. And Luke, you mentioned, there's more stories obviously, but you talked about the dynamic of conference, getting sent out and people beginning to say things like, see you later, you're now a PK kid. And so obviously that, like you said, obviously that affected you to some degree. Do you feel like you wrestled with that for a while, even at a young age, when you went out to pioneer, or did that quickly kind of, you were able to process through that? And
Yeah, I think I did. I handled it pretty quickly once I was out of there.
yes,
It was just leaving.
yes,
But when I got out there, yeah, we had a blast. Like the church was awesome. I met some of the craziest people I've ever met in my life.
Yes.
Seen the craziest
Yes.
people come into church that you will ever see.
yes,
Stories after stories of church, and it was exciting.
Yeah.
People coming into our home
yep,
who you'd probably never want to let into your home,
yeah, that's right.
and just yep,
That's pioneering.
yeah. Once I was out there, it was good.
Yeah, good.
We remember that guy. We met a guy on the streets. He was tattooed
Yeah,
from toe to jawline.
wow.
And I think even beyond that, up all over his
Yes.
head, but tattooed,
Yep.
crazy. Like, I mean, the kind of guy that you would never speak to without a handful of flyers.
Yes,
And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
but we witnessed this guy. He came to church several times.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if he came to our house,
yeah,
but he's the kind of guy who walks into church and everybody kind of takes notice. He's a scary looking dude.
yes,
But they're the kinds of people that came in.
Yeah,
and,
great.
And that we saw.
yeah.
it's
So
interesting.
it is interesting,
I think
pioneering.
Yeah. I think we have a photo. Do we have a photo of pioneering?
I think so.
That would be great.
There it
Oh,
is.
there you go.
Okay,
Okay.
there's a photo of when we were pioneering in, I don't know if there's a date on that, but maybe 2007, 8, something like that. But, that was part of the crew. And as always with pioneering, it's difficult to get everybody to turn up at the same time.
Yes.
But God was starting to help us, and was starting to build a core of people. But we were certainly working through the challenges, and I know that Pastor Will is out there in Richmond now, and he's pressing on out there.
Yes.
And we're praying for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Very good. So, we obviously mentioned the guy with the tattoos and those interesting characters that you meet. So from your memories and your, like, what would be an outstanding church service moment you remember pioneering in the typical kind of wild, mess, interesting pioneer story from a kid's perspective?
Yeah, I loved it. I loved it made church fun.
Yeah.
There's a few I can remember. One
Yeah.
one with the Spider-Man kid or the demon kid.
Yeah. Okay.
Face paint.
I did not see any kind of Spider-Man. I just saw the devil.
Okay.
I saw the devil.
And he was came and sat on the front row with his demon painted on his face, and
Yeah.
he used to run up the stage, hide behind the
Yeah.
projector screen, and run around the
Yeah.
stage and run under chairs and stuff like that. People would just come into church and
Yes.
just go crazy. Same with a woman.
Yeah.
I remember seeing a woman come into church, and she left the service,
Yeah.
went out to the car park, and then 2 minutes later sprints back in, runs up the altar,
Okay.
running, just craziness.
Yes. Okay.
A lot of funny stories. I remember another lady came with the bandages around her head.
Yeah. Okay.
Her whole head bandaged up.
Yeah.
You can blood coming through the bandages.
Yeah.
And he was praying for healing at the altar, and he said, "Does anyone here need healing?"
Yeah.
No one's responding. Maybe you're here, you have a wound on your head. Your head's bleeding. Still no one's responding.
Oh man. Okay.
She comes up for prayer, and
Yeah.
so what can I pray for? And she goes, can you pray for my knee? I have a sore knee.
Classic. Okay.
Just hilarious. Yeah,
Yeah.
funny moments like that.
Very good. Okay.
Yeah,
Good.
I can remember times when it wasn't always so funny.
Yeah.
It was kind of for me.
Yes.
But I remember a time when, Luke was a little, 6, 7, 8 years old, 9 years old.
Yes.
But he was my right-hand man, right? So he's going to take the offering.
Yep.
He's going to be there at the front.
Yep.
He's going to help me out. And so, he would come to the front, hold the offering basket. But mostly I would just get him to hold the basket and then carry it around.
Yes.
But I was starting to get to a time where I would like to ask him to pray.
Yes. Yep.
But he didn't want to pray.
Yep.
And so there was a one service in particular where I kind of asked, I said to Luke, or he said to me, we're having a revival. He said, don't ask me to pray.
Yeah.
And, he's only, 8 years old. Don't ask me to pray. I don't want to pray. And said, no. Okay, no worries. And so we get there, but I totally forgot we had that conversation.
Yeah.
And in the flow of it, so I'm going to ask Luke to pray over the offering, and he looks at me and goes, mm-mm.
Yeah.
And I said, and Luke to pray over the offering, and he goes, mm-mm.
Okay.
Yes, you are. Pray over the offering. He's, no, I don't want to pray. So, we went back and forth for a little bit, and then I'm, okay, I'll pray. And so, we had a few moments like that. But then afterwards, he's like, Dad, I told you. Yeah. I forgot. And so,
yes.
So do you remember that?
Do you remember that? Yeah.
I do. I clearly remember that.
Right.
Very clearly remember that.
Okay.
Yeah. I remember also being doing the projector slides.
Okay. Yes.
While he's preaching.
Yes.
And then him stopping the service to pull me out of the church building by my ear to tell me to stop mucking around on the front row while the church is still waiting inside. It was a great time. I was being a goose on the front row.
Yes. Yes.
Well,
that's how it was.
You got to do what you got to do, and so
it's good. And we should tell everybody, for those that are young, projector slides. In the old days, we had these overhead projectors with plastic slides that would show the words. Because some of you are thinking, what on earth is that? And that's for the oldies. We remember those days.
Yep.
I do remember. I remember coming to Windsor when you were pioneering.
Yeah, we had a radical time there.
It was wild. I remember coming and someone getting healed and being so astounded at the healing, they swore.
Yeah, that's right.
At the altar.
Yeah. Well, that lady is still in church today.
Yes.
In our fellowship.
Yep.
And she got healed, completely healed of a deaf ear.
Yes.
And her deaf ear opened, and she heard for the first time.
Yes.
She swore.
Yeah.
And blankety blank, and ran and jumped on me.
Yeah. Yes.
And she just wanted to give me a hug,
Yeah.
And she ran and gave me a full front hug.
Yeah.
And it was a big crowd. I think we had about 70 people there.
Yep.
And it was a wild scene, but it was a great time. Great time.
Absolutely. That's pioneering. Praise God.
Yep.
Very good. Okay. And so, all those stories, Luke, the different things, and especially looking back, you can laugh at it. Sometimes in the midst of it, it's not always you're laughing at it. What was, even looking back now, what do you think was the biggest challenge being out there and being in the pioneer setting and being in that environment? Do you ever feel like there was a challenge, or does that register? Or
not really.
Yeah.
I was probably a bit young.
Yeah.
When I was out there, I went to a great school, had a lot of great mates, had my all my mates from my footy team, and
great.
I was 6, 7, 8 years old.
Yes.
The church was fun.
Yeah.
Like my dad took care of me out there. Like we had fun and that. So it was great. Some of the issues probably started a little bit later after Windsor, after pioneering.
Yep, understand.
Yeah, but when I was there, I had a great time.
Yeah, good. Okay.
We were there when we were there in Windsor. I had a bit of a weekend habit of being Steve Irwin.
Okay.
And so we maybe Luke can talk about that when we used to. What was the place called where we used to go and find all those snakes and stuff?
The Windsor Downs.
Windsor Downs.
Okay.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we used to go into the bush and ride bikes and catch snakes and see big frill neck lizards and
come on.
Yeah, just have a lot of fun. Let's go fishing in the little rivers there and all that stuff was great fun. Loved it.
We were there one day with this big frill neck lizard, and so there, I think Luke and Jack were there, and like, oh crikey, look at it. And so I take off my shirt and we threw it on the back of the lizard and we dive on it, and boys dive on, and they all like we're wrestling a crocodile, it's a lizard about this big. Yeah. And but we just, I was doing that to make it fun for them.
Yeah, good. Yeah.
And so, another time we saw a big red belly black snake. Yeah. And obviously we didn't go anywhere near that, but we're like, oh crikey, it's a snake,
Yeah, good.
And we're but just good memories.
Yeah, very good, very good. And how many years were you in Windsor?
It was 3.5 years.
3.5 years. So when you finished your 9, 10. Yeah. Okay. And how did you go in that time? Obviously, you were brought up in the Parramatta church for those first few years and went out to Windsor. No, it's a young age, but do you feel like you maintained friendships and had a relationship with people? You saw people from the Parramatta church?
Yeah, for sure. That was, I saw all of them a lot, actually, yeah. A lot of my mates used to come and stay over. I'd go and stay over at my friend's house.
Yeah, great.
I shared my testimony a while ago, but that's where I started liking with a couple of my mates who like to get into a bit of mischief. And I remember one time jumping on a trampoline.
Yep.
Had the idea to collect little peanuts off a tree.
Okay.
And see how many cars we could hit and
Yes.
hit the windscreen. And ended up nailing a guy as he's going down the highway.
Yep.
He slams on the brakes and rocks up on the front door. And
Okay.
we're running away. We've run away. But that's like a lot of my mates coming over. I was always going over.
Yep.
We used to go to the Parramatta church on a Wednesday night.
Yep.
When we first went out there, so we're always connected. And
Yeah, good.
found it pretty easy.
Yeah.
And I
Great.
will say that, from a parenting perspective, we did that deliberately.
Yes.
And we wanted to keep the kids in contact with their friends.
Yep.
We
Great.
didn't want them to be isolated, and often
Yes.
we would organise fellowships tailored around their relationships.
Yes.
And not always for us. Sometimes, yes, for us.
Yes.
But other times, knowing that the kids needed to be in contact with their friends,
Yeah. Good.
we'd have fellowship with families that were the kids' friends
Yes.
and organise that so that the kids stayed connected.
Yeah.
And I think that's very healthy. And Luke is obviously expressing the healthiness of that,
Yes.
the benefit of that.
Yeah. Very good. Yeah. Good. And okay, the move out of that pioneering phase. Obviously, there was that time, 9, 10 years old. The news came that you're leaving Windsor and going into Parramatta to your dad was going to assist there in the Parramatta church. Yep. Do you remember? I mean, obviously you told us the news when you found out you're going to Windsor. So then leaving Windsor, how did that feel?
It was different. I wasn't so so upset.
Yeah.
By it. I was upset to be leaving, but it was different. I remember the last fellowship.
Yes.
We had a church fellowship, and we were gonna leave, and I was there. I was sort of excited. I'm going back to Parramatta. I had friends there. I knew people there.
Yeah.
But then I was seeing that the church.
Yes.
A lot of people from the church and my friends from church.
Yes.
Upset.
Yeah.
And then it was a different sort of emotion leaving Windsor, leaving those people that we'd met, and a lot of people that needed needed lost people, needed help, and but I was going back to my friends, but just seeing these people were leaving them, that it was different, but it wasn't so hard for me. So
good.
I found my place when I went to Para pretty quickly.
Yeah, great, very good. Okay, and so obviously you've left. You're in Parramatta now, and some number of years later, obviously you've got saved at some point. Pastor.
Just before you get to that, though,
Yes.
I think when we go back into Parramatta, Luke is probably 7, 8, 9, 10. 10, I think. And so when Luke was in Windsor, he started to play a little bit of music.
Okay, good.
And played the djembe drum on the streets with evangelist Rod Gibson when he came.
Yep.
And so that was kind of, I think, maybe the first kind of public expression. Got
Okay.
involved in playing the djembe drum at school.
Yeah.
And then got a guitar. Actually it was a miracle. You remember that story about getting your first guitar?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember we had a guitar, an acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
But I wanted an electric guitar. I wanted
Yeah.
to be a rock star, be like Pastor Rick.
Yeah.
And so I remember very clearly in the church service, and I had like $2 on me.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting there, and we had the little servo up the road from the church, and that was $2 was my ice cream.
Yes. Yeah.
And I remember sitting there just thinking, if I'm going to pray and give this money, and I'm going to pray for a guitar
Yeah. Okay.
and see what happens. I was 8 years old.
Wow. Okay.
8, 9 years old, and I remember giving that money in the offering.
Yep.
And Pastor Rick actually just pulled up to our house like the next week.
Yep.
Told me to come out to the car, open the boot of the car, and he brought this electric guitar over.
Wow. Okay.
That was one moment in my life
Yeah.
for a very long time as a kid that I looked back to as a reference point to saying giving is real and God is real. Because I remember giving an offering very specifically.
Yeah.
And the next week, miracle guitar came.
Come on, that's an outstanding testimony for an 8-year-old.
Yeah.
That's
for sure. It was awesome.
hopefully there's young people listening that you can believe God for a miracle as well. Goodness.
Yeah, you pray, you
Yeah.
give, believe God,
Yeah.
and God will come through for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. And then so transitioning in, actually, I think we've got a question that might be relevant to kind of what we're moving into. Well, this might be a step ahead of us.
Well, just while you're
Yes.
reading that and making
Yes.
sense of that or whatever, but
Yes.
so Luke, at 11 years of age,
Yes.
started to play in the song service in Parramatta, in the
Okay.
Mother Church. At 11, was playing guitar.
Yes.
I think his very first gig was a Parramatta's Got Talent type event.
Okay.
Luke and Elijah Gibson played a
Yeah.
song together,
Okay.
and it was very rough and very beginner style, but they
Yeah.
gave it a crack, and
Yeah.
they played guitar. I don't know if they sang or they just played guitar.
Yeah, we played guitar and attempted to rap and attempted
Okay.
to sing
Okay.
and attempted to play guitar.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good fun.
Great.
Yeah, he went from there, and
Yes.
sometime later got in the song service, and
Yeah.
maybe just to backtrack a little
Yes.
as well
Yeah.
before we kind of go into salvation mode. But one of the problems that I have as a pastor with older kids
Yes.
is nobody ever sees how I was with my kids when they were small.
Yeah. Okay.
And
Yeah,
nobody
good.
ever gets to see how to deal with small kids, or to discipline them, or to not discipline them,
Yep.
or how to deal with them. And I think it would be an interesting question to ask Luke
Yeah. Good.
what he thought of. Maybe he has no other reference point, so he doesn't know. But
Yep.
also, how did you feel about those years and being raised as a Christian child and discipline and all those things that came your way?
Yeah, definitely there was. I could see a difference between the way I was and the way I was brought up than all my mates at school.
Yeah.
And now that you mention it, I do remember that was actually a struggle in Windsor a little bit.
Yeah. Okay.
Even as a young kid, I was always frustrated. Why? And I even remember saying, like, why me? Why do I have to
Yeah.
do what he does? Or
Yeah.
why can't I go and do what my mates do? And I clearly remember wrestling that through with the why me? Like, I don't want to, why do I have to do this? Because
Yeah. Yeah. Good.
they told me to do this.
Yes.
And that was one of the struggles I really went through.
Yeah. Good. Okay. Very good.
So, what do you think about? Were you disciplined? Were you sent to your room? Were you smacked? Were you? You know,
Yeah.
it's almost a taboo word is
Yeah.
to say smack your children. And
Yes.
it's possible that our YouTube channel gets shut down right now.
Yeah.
The Bible says, spare the rod and you'll spoil the child.
Yeah.
And I can preach that and say that, but people, oh, Pastor, what would you know?
Yeah.
And so what would I know, Luke?
Yeah, you're good at it. Very good at it. I definitely got smacked.
Yeah.
Definitely. I became good at getting smacked. I had all the tricks.
Yeah.
To be able to run to my room in 5 seconds, be able to put books down my pants,
Yeah.
ready to go,
Yeah.
ready to cop it. The fake cry, I had that down pat as well. Head on the
Yes,
pillow,
Yeah.
make the noise till he leaves. And then I remember one time getting
Yeah.
smacked, and I wasn't crying, so it was
Yeah.
like, so I got another one, got another one.
Yeah.
Head on the pillow, he left the room, and I remember having just laughing out of control that he'd been smacking me, and I fully faked him. I had
Yeah. Yeah.
dancing around the room,
Yes.
celebrating my victory there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely got smacked, got disciplined, and I hated it.
Yeah.
When I was young, I hated it.
Yes.
Hated seeing my mates do stuff and not cop what I had to cop.
Yeah. Good.
And yeah, it wasn't fun
Yes.
then, but
But
it has helped me greatly.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think from a parent's perspective, you're a weird individual if you
Yeah.
enjoy smacking your children.
Yeah.
And you're strange if you like that. Nobody likes that. But if you want to have good kids, discipline your kids.
Yes.
And not in a cruel way and not angrily. If if you're angry, send them to their room until you calm down, and do it in love.
Yes.
But all of our kids,
Yep.
Luke and Abby and Chloe,
Yep.
were all disciplined correctly, biblically,
Yes.
and in a loving manner that has helped them to become the kids they are today.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, which is true. I understand that dynamic. It's hard not having small kids, and people don't get to see that.
Yeah.
And it's a good connection for people to say, Pastor, your kids are doing well. What's the mysterious secret?
Yeah.
You got to connect in that there was discipline
Yeah.
involved, and there was correction. And
Yeah, I can remember, Mama is now, she's one of my fans, and she might be watching tonight, and so, but I can remember she wasn't always a fan of this kind of parenting.
yes,
And so we did go and stay in her little unit for a period of time, God bless her, and so thankful that she let us do that. But Luke
Yes.
was only little,
yeah,
and he would cry early in the morning, wake
Yeah.
up in his bed,
yeah,
and like I'm talking 4 o'clock in the morning, and I got to
Yeah.
go to work.
yeah,
And so, I think you can't make kids go to sleep, but you can make them be quiet.
yes,
And so he'd wake up early in the morning, scream, make
Yeah.
noise,
Yeah.
and so I'm smack him in the morning to just be quiet. Not go
Yes.
to sleep, just be quiet.
yes.
And it worked, but God bless her, Mama would yell out from her room and say, "Oh, Luke, darling, come to me."
Yes.
And
yes, yes.
say, "Luke, you move out of this room, and you're going to get another one." And so, not
Yes.
everybody is a fan of that, but I
Yes.
think now Luke's grandmother would definitely look back and see how that has all played out,
Yes.
and realize that now she's a Christian, and now she sees the benefit of that kind of solid, good parenting,
Yeah,
biblical
very good.
parenting.
Yeah, very good. Excellent. Very good. And just to remind everybody online, send through any questions, lots of comments, but send through questions, and we appreciate those that start to come through. And so I guess before we kind of almost went into talking about transitioning to getting saved, but I guess the step before that as well would be being a pastor's kid. What was one of the biggest struggles in your mind when you think back to growing up in church and ministry and the dynamics involved? What was one of the greatest struggles for you?
It would have to be the sense of expectation
Yeah, okay.
that we put on ourselves,
Yeah, okay.
pretty much. But it feels like everyone is always saying, "Oh, why are you doing that? You're the pastor's kid."
Yes.
Or "You can't do that. You're the pastor's kid." Or
Yeah. Yes.
I always felt like I had to live up to everyone's expectations of me
Yes.
because I was a pastor's kid, and that really, when I got older, that mindset made me do a lot of stupid things.
Yes.
When I was younger, I just hated it, and
Yep.
me and my friend, me and Jack, we used to always, I remember talking about that
Okay.
and saying, like, what do they know? They think it's
Yeah,
this and this. They have no idea.
Yeah.
Just because we're a pastor's kid, and
Yeah.
we would always talk about that, and with a
Yeah.
bit of resentment,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
because that expectation was.
Yes. And you're saying a lot of that expectation is self-generated, you feel like,
Yeah.
from your experience? Yeah.
Very rarely people say,
Yes.
what are you doing that? You're meant to be the pastor's kid.
Yes.
It's very rare.
Yeah.
And I can't really pinpoint where it comes from,
Yes.
but it's just there.
Yeah.
Maybe it's little comments that you receive or something that don't really say it, but
Yeah.
it was always there in my mind. And
Yeah.
I can't think back now to pinpoint exactly what it was, but I always remember having a bit of a sense of expectation
Yes.
upon me.
And I think some of that can come from, as a pastor, you want your kids to be well behaved, you want
Yes.
them to be a good example.
Yep.
And we did say to the kids often, you are the pastor's, this is the pastor's family.
Yep.
You will be a good example.
Yes.
Like it or not, you will
Yep.
be a good example. So
Yep.
with that comes expectation.
Yes.
But I want to make it clear, and I want to say to everybody, I never did expect Luke to be, or the girls, to be anything more than a saved child.
Yes.
And I just wanted them to be saved, to be right with God. And yes, be a good example and a testimony, but all that is just
good.
Christianity.
Yes.
Just be a Christian.
Yes.
And to the highest level, yes. But I never, at least not in my mind, did I ever put expectation on Luke for ministry or to be in ministry. I never pushed him into ministry or anything like that. But just be a Christian. And the outflow of that is an enthusiasm for ministry.
Yeah, great. Yeah, very good.
I remember arguing with you a lot. Would have very heated arguments, even to the point of of yelling, where I'm yelling at you saying, I'm never going to be, I'm not this disciple that you think I am.
Yeah.
I'm saying, I remember clearly having arguments with you saying that, stop trying to make me do this. I'm not, because I'm not who you want me to be.
Yeah.
And like you said, you never put that stuff, you never said that to me. I think it's just one of those battles that pastors' kids or church kids in general just have to deal with.
Yeah.
They do have to battle that through and work it out. And I can remember at times, I don't know how old Luke was, but when he was battling through a lot of this stuff, and one time he said, I hate it here.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I think he said that to your mum before I got home.
Yeah.
And well, maybe you tell the rest of the story.
Yeah, had just a little talk about being in Windsor, and this was when we first got there. And I said that to him, I hate it here. I want to leave. I'll go do my own thing. I think I was 7 years old.
That's right.
And she said, she's sort of just dealt with me then. But then when Dad got home from work, Mum told my dad, and he pulled me up about it and said, so you hate it here?
Yeah.
He said, open the front door for me, let me walks me out.
Yeah.
He goes, if you hate it here, see you later.
Yeah.
He said, and I'm going to be nice to you as well, and I'll let you keep the clothes you're wearing.
Yeah.
And that's it. And if you hate it here, go do what you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he had his pajamas on. And I said, everything else in this house belongs to me.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll let you keep your pajamas.
Yeah.
Good luck. See you later.
Yeah.
And you hate it so much, go find something better.
Yes.
And he very quickly apologized.
Yes.
Said he's sorry. And, obviously I didn't want him to leave, but I wanted to teach him a lesson.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think it helped him.
Yeah, absolutely. Brings perspective very quickly, which is good. No, very good. And I think that is probably you've probably encountered this already. There's probably a lot of church kids, pastor kids experience that same issue of expectation. Yeah. Which the challenge...
and at the same time all that is going on, really little bit of rebellion in his own heart and own mind.
Right.
But at the same time there's this, the truth of the gospel is in him.
Yes.
And he knows it. And there's a fear of heaven and hell. And I remember one time we were going to church, and we had 2 cars.
Yeah.
And so my wife, I think she went somewhere to pick somebody up.
Yeah.
And I thought the kids were with her. And then I just got in the car and I went to church.
Yep.
But Luke was at home in bed. And so she gets to church, I get to church, and I say, oh, where's Luke?
Yeah.
And she goes, hey, I thought he was with you. I said, I thought he was with you. And then he's at home, and then he wakes up and he's like, it's the rapture.
I'm running around doing the Mom, Dad, and then it's the rapture's happened. I'm running around everywhere.
Yeah.
But that's how it is.
Well, I think, it's very, very healthy for kids to get a healthy fear that the rapture may have come.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And that's
a great response.
Yes.
That's what we want.
Betty, thank God I'm alone. No, he says, oh no, it's the rapture. I've missed it. I'm in big trouble.
Yes, yeah, good. And with the expectation thing, don't know if I'm connecting 2 things together out of place, but do you feel like sometimes when you did rebel or push back and even begin to engage in things that you shouldn't have, it was almost as a pushback against the expectation?
100%.
Yeah, okay.
And I even remember saying to myself, leaving church and saying, oh, if they want to think that about me, then I'll show them what's up. Yeah. And I'll go and I remember thinking that, and then going to school with that in my mind.
Yes.
Looking for fights, looking for trouble.
Yeah.
Just to show people that I'm not going to be a wimpy pastor's kid.
Yeah, yeah.
And that it started to, in 9 and 10, sort of started to play a bit of a part in my thinking.
Yes.
And like I said, I don't know where it came from, but I'll
Yeah.
just leave church and think, nah, I'm not that.
Yeah.
I'm just
And
not the good.
intentionally.
Yeah, and intentionally
Okay. Yeah.
push back against
Yeah.
that and get myself into.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's jump into
Yeah.
how Luke got saved.
Yeah. Very good.
And conversion.
Yes. Yeah. Very good. Let me just check the questions. Sorry, Pastor, just so we don't miss any out of context. All right. Okay. Well, let's talk about moving into that. There's a few kind of questions stirring, but I think we can get them as we go through. But obviously, you talk about that. There's a good transition, the pushback, the rebellion, and that begins to escalate. You said year 9 and 10. So maybe if you can talk us through some of that dynamic of what was happening that time, and then that leading into obviously a point of change.
Yep. Yeah. So about I think year 8, year 9, year 10, we've
Yep.
come to Hurstville now.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and I met a sort of different crowd that I've
Yes.
met before. Like I was young in Windsor. I was at a public school.
Yep.
Young. Then I went to a Christian school for year 6 and year 7.
Yep.
Then I moved again to Hurstville and I went to a public school again.
Yes.
And I got there in year 8, which is when kids are starting to, do the same thing as me. They want to try and see what's out there, and kids are getting a bit rebellious. And so I went there, and I'd never been exposed to anything like that before. When I got to Hurstville, it was the first time that I'd seen this different side of the way that the kids were, the partying stuff, or fighting at school. Never saw that at Toon Gabby. But the first day I get there, the week before, someone being stabbed, and just a totally different scene when I got to this school.
Yes.
And instantly I was exposed to stuff that I'd never been exposed to before.
Yeah.
So I got there, and so I met a group of friends.
Yep.
And just nothing horrible, but I just, again, with that expectation, I wanted to fit in. I didn't want to be just the pastor's kid. I wanted to be the same as my mates. I wanted to do what my mates are doing.
Yes. Yep.
And that's what I did. I still loved sport. I loved music.
Yep.
So I found myself with a group of friends who loved the same stuff, and we just gave ourselves to trying to make music and play footy, play cricket, and
You and Christian, right?
Christian.
Christian's now in church.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Very good.
Yeah, and so that's what I did, and I never went crazy, but there was definitely a rebellion in my heart.
Yeah.
I was intentionally pushing back.
Yes.
From what I'd been taught.
Yeah.
And just rebellious. And I remember actually one day going to a hospital to see one of my mates.
Yes.
And I was going there with Christian, and we were walking to this hospital, and I remember having the conversation with him, who's also a church kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember clearly speaking to him, saying, I don't even care anymore.
Yeah.
I don't care. And we had this conversation where I was just saying, I don't care. I don't care about this church stuff anymore. And just making it known to him that if anything comes up, I'm in it.
Yeah.
And this church stuff can get rattled.
Yeah. Okay.
And I remember that day very clearly. Sort of made a decision in my mind.
Yeah.
It was, I don't care about this, and that's when I started it led me down a few other things. And my mum, I remember getting caught by my mum. Smoking and just silly stuff like that. Nothing major, but just stupid stuff. And that really shook me.
Yeah.
I remember I had some cigarettes in my pocket from school.
Yeah.
Came home and I was wrestling my little sister.
Yeah.
On her bed, and obviously one of them must have fell out of my pocket.
Yeah.
And my mum found it on her bed.
Yeah.
Came into the room and just said, "What's this?"
Yeah.
And then I remember looking at that and my heart just like dropping.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And she didn't say anything. She asked me what it was. I obviously said I don't know.
Yeah.
She left the room, and I just remember feeling like rubbish, and
Yeah.
just a lot of thoughts running through my mind. Like I began to think like they've given up their whole lives. He's given up a possible successful career in NRL coaching, NRL. My mum's given up her career, and then why?
Yeah.
And if it's so important that they'd give up their career and what I want,
Yeah.
why would I throw it away for this? And I remember sitting there thinking that really shook me, and I felt so bad about that stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
And it lasted for a couple of days, and then I was back doing what I was doing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think we're kind of pressing on for time. So
Yeah.
what was the turning point?
Yes.
So I remember sitting in the service. Obviously, I was going to church the whole time, putting on the church kid face every Sunday. But I was in the service, and someone came and gave their testimony about being a two-faced person in church, and all that surrounded that.
Yeah.
And the only thing that I remember getting out of that day was I clearly said to myself, I don't want to be like him.
Yeah. Okay.
So I don't know about all of that.
Yeah.
But I just don't want to be like him, and I'm not going to be a hypocrite like that.
Yes.
And so I got saved that day. I was 17.
Yeah.
And I remember put my hand up in the service, went down and prayed a sinner's prayer.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to make to do right from then on.
Yeah.
I didn't from that decision.
Yeah.
And a couple months later, I recommitted again.
Yeah.
Got my life right. But this time I was working a job.
Yes.
I was doing my carpentry apprenticeship with my uncle.
Yeah.
I was working a job, and I got saved again with the same mindset. I'm not going to be a hypocrite. I need to get saved. And if I'm going to come to church every Sunday, I'm going to get saved and do it right. And so I got saved, left school, began my apprenticeship.
Yeah.
And I did that, and I got saved, I think.
Yes.
Got converted.
Yeah.
And I began to really give myself to living as a Christian. I think I just genuinely got converted.
Yes.
I got this love for God, which I'd never had before.
Yeah.
And I just began to serve God.
Yeah.
And I think I was doing pretty well.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then there was another big turning point. I left my job.
Yes.
I was working for my uncle, and so I didn't think it was going to be a very, very big issue, but it turned out to have some issues along with it. But I think that decision as well, also, it wasn't a salvation issue or anything.
Yeah, yeah.
But it was a big turning point in just the way that I was and becoming an adult. I think. Just becoming a man, the way that that all played out, the way I had to handle the situation really helped me. And I think from there, I just began to, that was probably the turning point.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so how much of that do you think was supernatural and how much was a decision? Because, I mean, that's like the $1 million question, right?
Yeah.
People want to know, how do I get, I just want to be converted. Or how do I get my kids converted like that?
Yeah, yeah.
So what do you think? How do you explain that?
It's definitely a decision. If you don't want it, you're not going to get it.
Yeah.
And so I made the decision.
Yeah.
And that's just how I've been. If I'm going to do something, I want to do it.
Yes.
Do it well. I'm not going to come into church and sit there.
Yeah.
And well, that's what I did.
Yeah.
But I hadn't made a decision. I was just stupid. But that day I made a decision. If I'm going to come to church, I'm not going to come and sit here on a Sunday and then go and muck around, or I'm not going to not be 100% for it.
Yeah.
If this is how I'm going to use my weekends, I'm going to use my weeknights, I'm going in 100%.
Yeah, good. Okay.
And I think when I made that decision, then it was supernatural and God really helped me.
Yeah, good.
But I had to make the decision and take the step.
Yeah.
And I think once I did that, God really helped me and sort of blessed that decision.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, good. And just as a thought for any young person, church kid listening, I'm guessing you probably had prayed a sinner's prayer sometime before being 17, but this was a real moment of praying again, and there was a conversion experience and something very much shifted and changed. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. As a church kid, every time he preaches on the rapture, I'm getting saved.
Right. Yeah.
So I'd prayed the sinner's prayer countless amounts of times.
Yes.
But it was more than just I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I won't do it again. It was a decision.
Yeah.
Of not just I'm sorry, but this is I repent. I'm going to turn and actually do what God's called me to do.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I think it's consecrate yourself to me.
Yes.
And you will see amazing things.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's pretty much what happened.
Yes.
That Luke began to consecrate himself and set himself apart and say, this is my life. This is not just what I do. This is now my life.
Yeah.
This is who I am. This is what I believe.
Yes.
And I remember him making bold decisions to be a witness at school and invite his friends. And some came, some didn't come, but there was definitely a consecration that occurred.
Yes.
And he began to see amazing things and do amazing things. And like you said, the decision with his uncle.
Yeah.
We don't have time to talk about all the other things, but giving into conference offerings and just being involved in music and song service and bands. It was all a process.
Yes.
But a decision to commit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know we are running out of time. Maybe we'll just grab one or two of these questions, and there are people. And Shona's just sent through a great question there, which I think is appropriate to ask now. She said, "What advice would you give, if any?" And I'm sure there is, to other pastors' kids who might be struggling with the idea of pioneering, or an evangelist kids, or those even born in the church. Just, I guess, maybe say any church kid or pastor's kid growing up in church and in a ministry family, what would you say to them from your experiences and where you've come to in your journey now?
There's a few things for me that were very big turning points, and I don't know if it really answers the question.
Yeah.
But there was one I remember having another big sort of argument with you. I was a bit older now.
Yeah.
And we had a big argument, and pretty much you said to me, you know what, you need a pastor. And that day I made the decision, or it was clear I needed to make the decision of separating dad and pastor.
Yeah.
And I think that helped me as a church kid.
Yeah.
That when I was at church, just becoming a disciple pretty much.
Yeah.
And that helped me at home as well. Just making that decision in my mind it just helped things to become clear.
Yeah.
As to where I stood as a disciple. As a pastor's kid, the truth is you're different.
Yes.
You're not gonna be the same as everyone else. Like it's just the fact of life. Like not every kid is the pastor's kid. Your dad's the pastor. There is that little bit of expectation that's on you, and that's just the way it is. And so you've got to make a decision how you're going to deal with that.
Yes.
And I think that's how that's what's going to determine how you live for God. When I made the decision to separate pastor and dad, it really helped me just to become clear as to where I stood in the church, what I did in the church, and then my at-home life as well.
Yeah, very good. Okay, great. And what about just the general church kid, those growing up in, maybe their dad's not the pastor specifically, but they are growing up in church and ministry and maybe still carrying some of those expectations, even just growing up as a church kid. Would you have any advice for we do have young people that are probably listening right now that are growing up in church? And
I think the expectations, there really isn't any expectations. People want the best for you. Your parents want the best for you.
Yeah.
Like he said, he wanted me to be saved.
Yeah.
Well, there wasn't any expectations for me to join song service.
Yeah.
He wanted me to be saved. There isn't any expectations. You just live for God.
Yeah.
It's the best thing you'll ever do.
Yeah.
And it's just the best. One more thing, I remember another big thing for me was I was very close with a whole lot of mates that I'd grown up with in church. And I clearly remember when I got saved, there was a rally on the next weekend. And I was going back. We're going back to Parramatta for the rally.
Yeah.
And I remember speaking to my parents saying, I don't want to go. Like, I don't want to go.
Yeah.
Which was strange because we always hung out for rallies. Always wanted to go back and see everyone.
Yeah.
But I had this, I was fearful
Yeah.
because I wanted to go, now I'm a disciple,
Yeah.
I wanted to go to hear from God, but to go and sit separately from my mates
Yeah.
and to not do what they were doing, it freaked me out. And I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
scared how I'm going to look. It was a big thing for me just to go
Yes.
to a rally, and to the point where I don't want to go. I
Yeah.
can't go. I don't want to see them.
Yeah.
But I made the decision to sit with other people, heard from
Yeah.
God, and it was like, I think that was another turning point as well, where I just thought to myself, I can do this. I can be
Yeah.
serious.
Yes.
It's the best way to go.
Yeah, I think that's profoundly powerful. I think
Yeah.
it's
I think
That's
that
helpful.
even played out here in our local church. That at some point Luke decided to say, you know what, doesn't matter what anyone else does, I'm
yes.
going to be involved, sit on the front row,
Yeah.
wear a tie,
Yeah.
you know, and I'm going to do that. It doesn't matter if nobody. I remember a time we had no men, no men, but no single young
Yeah.
men on the
Yeah.
front row.
Yeah.
Remember? And we were praying, God,
Yes,
give us
absolutely.
some young men
Yeah.
on the front row.
Yep.
And we just prayed for 2, 3. I think I counted actually on, I think I counted Sunday night, 17
Yeah.
just young guys
Yes,
here just
yeah,
across the
yeah.
front. And so at one point we had none. And Luke said, I'm going to be the one.
Yes.
I don't care what anyone else is doing.
Yeah,
I
great.
will be the one. And I'm going to
Yes.
sit there on the front, take notes.
Yes.
And he did that. And again, I think there's significant moments.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Lock it in. Any church kids listening, lock those comments in and that advice.
And these things were not just a week or 2 or a month. This was a permanent decision.
Yes. Yeah, not just a passing temporary. Very good. Great comment from JM, which I presume might be the pastor's wife.
Could be.
We never addressed our kids as pastor's kids, though. We addressed you either as you're a Christian or you're not,
Yeah.
which is great. Kills the label. It's not a label. You are a
Definitely.
Christian or not.
And I was always challenged
Yeah.
Yeah.
by my parents. Are you saved?
Yes.
And yeah, it's a hard
we
question.
we
to
were
answer.
not afraid to say to them, you are not saved. You're
Yeah.
not a Christian.
Yes.
That is not Christian.
Yes.
So.
Praise God. Well, I feel like we could continue on.
We could easily.
We could.
couldn't we? Yeah.
Pastor, do you want to take over? We do any more questions, or do you feel like we're?
Maybe we'll just finish with one final question. Luke is now married.
Yes.
You got married a couple of years ago?
Yep, year and a half ago.
Year and a half ago. Married Sophie, wonderful wife, together. And so where to from here for you, do you think?
Just keep serving God. Go hard for God.
Yep.
Obviously, just want to do everything I can to reach souls and
Yeah.
do what I can to help people, see people make it, and do everything I can to live for God the best way that I can.
Yeah.
That's what's next.
Praise God.
Awesome.
Praise
Very
God.
good.
And I think for me, as a father and a pastor, my heart's desire and ambition was always just to raise saved kids.
Yep.
And I thank God for that every day. I thank God that they're saved, and thank God they have a heart for people and want to do something for God. And proud of him. Well done.
Great,
And
yes.
obviously the girls as well, Abby and Chloe and my wife. And of course Sophie is with us as well. And now Malaki is
Yes. Coming into the family.
son-in-law to be. And so
Yes.
I have to bring some correction to Malaki at some point in time, maybe. Just messing with you. Amen. All right. Well, praise God. Appreciate you taking the time
Yeah.
to tune in to Manna Monday tonight.
Yes.
Again, we could talk on and on about stories and issues and other things, and maybe we can at another time. But I think that's all for tonight. Anything else?
Maybe just, I would say to any maybe church kid or young person that you've thought of questions or you want to know what it is to live for God, get married young, have ministry, have fruitfulness as a young person, even after tonight, you would approach Luke at some time and say, Luke, can you tell me, ask some more questions, ask some specific things, and beyond tonight, ask those questions. Grab him, take him aside. If you're a young lady, take Sophie aside, ask the questions. How can I be fruitful? How can I be married young? How can I be saved? How can I have all those dynamics at work, and make that your aim if you're a young person listening.
Yeah, I know there are other young men from other fellowship churches.
Yes.
Some younger than Luke that contact him often and ask, you know, what do I do? How do I live for God?
Yeah.
You know, how should I think about this, process this, and so I guess it's a little generous of me on Luke's behalf, but to invite you to make contact with Luke if you're a young man, as Pastor Ben said, in our church or perhaps any other fellowship church. If you're watching tonight and you want some advice or you'd like to ask, feel free to do so. Luke, you open to that?
Yeah, for sure. Always open.
Awesome.
Always.
All right. Well, that'll do us for tonight. We're going to wrap it up. We appreciate you taking the time, an hour out of your schedule on a Monday night.
Yeah.
And we're looking forward to the next one. Haven't quite decided what it's going to be, but appreciate you taking the time. God bless you. Good night. Over and out for another Manna Monday.
God bless.